They say it started as nothing. Just small things, easy to ignore. A light in the sky that stayed a little too long. A shadow that didn't move when everything else did. For the first year, they laughed it off. Everyone did. The town was small, surrounded by forest and empty roads, the kind of place where rumors replaced entertainment, and strange stories died quickly. But the lights kept coming back. Always the same shape, always the same position in the sky, always watching. At first, it was once every few months. Then once a month. Then once a week. People started noticing patterns. The lights appeared only after midnight. They never made a sound. They never moved like planes or helicopters. They didn't blink. They didn't drift. They simply stayed there, hovering, as if fixed to an invisible point above the town. Children were the first to talk about it seriously. They said it felt like the sky was looking back at them. Parents dismissed it as imagination, until dogs began refusing to go outside at night, and livestock started panicking for no reason. Cameras malfunctioned. Streetlights flickered only when the glow appeared. Phones lost signal. Watches stopped ticking for exactly the same amount of time every night the lights were visible. Still, nothing happened. Not really. Years passed. People got used to it. That was the worst part. The watching became normal. The glow in the sky became background noise, like a distant star you didn't question anymore. Some people even sat outside at night, staring up, feeling strangely calm, as if being observed was comforting. Others felt the opposite. They locked doors, covered windows, avoided looking up. They felt it when the lights appeared, a pressure in the head, a sense of being measured, catalogued, remembered. For 7 years, the town lived like this. Watched but untouched. Until the night it changed. It happened without warning. No glow. No slow appearance. No build-up. At exactly 2:17 a.m., every light in town went out at once. Power. Phones. Emergency systems. Everything. The silence that followed was heavier than anything before it. People described it later as unreal, like the world had been muted. Then the sky lit up. Not with one light, but dozens. Massive shapes unfolded above the town, emerging from nothing, blocking out the stars. The watching was over. This wasn't observation anymore. This was arrival. People ran outside despite themselves, drawn by something deeper than fear. The air felt thick, charged, vibrating under their skin. Time didn't move right. Some said minutes stretched into hours. Others said the entire event lasted seconds. Witnesses reported the same sensation, something pressing into their thoughts, not words, not voices, but intent. A presence that knew them, that recognized them, that had been waiting. Homes were entered without doors opening. People were lifted without being touched. Entire families lost time together, yet remembered different things. Some saw nothing but light. Some saw impossible shapes bending around them. Some remembered standing still while the world moved around them like liquid. When the lights finally vanished, the town was changed. 36 people were missing. They were never found. No bodies. No signs of struggle. Just absence. Others returned hours later, miles away, confused, injured, altered. Doctors couldn't explain the marks on their bodies, the synchronized brain activity, the identical scars appearing on people who had never met. Children began drawing the same symbols without being taught. Animals avoided certain houses completely. Mirrors cracked for no reason. People felt watched even in daylight. Especially in daylight. And then the dreams started. The same dream, shared by hundreds. Standing under a dark sky. Looking up. Seeing something vast and patient, something that had learned them over years of quiet observation. Something that knew exactly when to stop watching and start acting. The town was eventually evacuated. Official explanations were given. Gas leaks. Mass hysteria. Military tests. But those who were there know better. They know the watching wasn't random. It wasn't curiosity. It was preparation. Years of studying habits, routines, reactions. Learning fear. Learning compliance. Learning which ones would resist and which ones would freeze. And now, long after the town has emptied and the roads have cracked and nature has reclaimed the houses, satellites still detect anomalies above that area. Lights that appear for hours, perfectly still, as if something remains behind, waiting. Watching nothing. Or maybe watching for someone to come back. Because those who lived through it all agree on one thing. Whatever was observing them for years didn't leave in a hurry. And whatever happened that night was not an ending. It was a test. They thought evacuation meant safety. They thought distance would break whatever connection had been formed. They were wrong. The watching didn't stop when the town was emptied. It followed. People who had lived there for years began noticing the same patterns in different cities, different states, different countries. Lights that appeared in the same position relative to their homes. Electronics failing at the same hour every night. A familiar pressure behind the eyes, like a memory trying to surface. Those who had been taken and returned were the first to understand. They weren't witnesses anymore. They were markers. Wherever they went, anomalies followed. Neighbors reported strange sounds above rooftops. Security cameras captured frames that corrupted the moment a returned resident entered the shot. Hospitals quietly logged cases of identical neurological signatures appearing in people who claimed to have lived in the town, even if they had left years before the night it happened. The dreams intensified. No longer symbolic. No longer vague. The same place returned night after night. A vast space with no horizon, no stars, only structure and depth. Something immense moved there, slow and deliberate. Not hostile. Not friendly. Intentional. People began waking up with new knowledge they had never learned. Coordinates. Patterns. Equations that made no sense yet felt familiar. Some wrote them down without understanding why. Others burned notebooks in fear. A few disappeared again, vanishing from locked apartments, monitored facilities, hospital rooms under constant watch. There were no lights this time. No spectacle. Just absence. Governments noticed. They never said it publicly, but classified reports connected the dots. The town wasn't unique. It was early. A long-term observation site. One of many. Satellite data revealed similar patterns across the globe, all beginning years before any major event, all escalating slowly, patiently. Watching wasn't about curiosity. It was about compatibility. Adaptation. Those who had lived under the lights the longest were changing. Subtle at first. Heightened perception. Loss of fear response. A sense of detachment from time. Some described moments where seconds stretched unnaturally, where they could anticipate events before they happened. Others lost emotional attachment to people they loved, not out of cruelty, but because something else was taking priority in their minds. Alignment. Readiness. One man, interviewed before vanishing, said it plainly. He said they weren't being invaded. They were being prepared. Humanity wasn't under threat. Humanity was under review. The watching phase had ended in the town because enough data had been gathered. Reactions measured. Thresholds tested. Compliance mapped. The next phase was selective integration. Not everyone would be chosen. Not everyone could handle it. That was why some never came back. That was why others returned changed. They were compatible. The final confirmation came quietly. No lights. No missing people. Just a signal detected deep space researchers couldn't explain. A repeating pattern, impossible to decode, yet instantly recognizable to those who had been watched. They felt it the moment it was discovered. A pull. A recognition. The signal wasn't sent to Earth. It was sent from Earth. From them. Something inside the return had been waiting for that moment, dormant but aware. When it activated, many collapsed at once, overwhelmed by memories that weren't theirs, by a sense of completion that felt terrifyingly final. They understood then that the watching had never truly been external. It had been mutual. A long conversation without words. And now that conversation was moving forward. Somewhere above the planet, unseen and patient, something vast adjusted its focus. Not on cities. Not on governments. But on individuals. On those who had already been touched. Already changed. Already listening. The town was only the beginning. And whatever comes next won't announce itself with lights in the sky. Because it won't need to watch anymore.